Hey, how's everyone doing? So, I found this piece of walnut today. Perfect for what I have in mind. There's a crack right through its center, and I've decided not to fix it. Sometimes the cracks tell the most beautiful story. But first, I need to level the top and bottom. Just enough to get it ready for what's coming next. I'm carving both sides of this wood. Two sides, two stories. One side is simple, just like everyone knows. But the other side, it's more complex, with roots spreading deep. Like some people, simple on the outside, but when you get to know them, you realize how intricate they really are. And yeah, I know, sliding wood by hand under a CNC is not exactly the safest method, but hey, desperation teaches fast. Now both sides are perfectly leveled, just the thickness I need, and ready for the next step, where one small mistake almost cost me the entire project. I usually use double-sided tape to hold smaller pieces on the CNC, and it usually works just fine. But this time, well, as you'll see later, things didn't go quite as planned. So I give it the ultimate security test, a firm tap with my fingers, yep, rock solid. I use ZBrush to create the 3D model. I'm still pretty new to it, so if you spot any design flaws, well, let's just call that the beginner's charm. For this model, one side was meant to show dry tree branches, waiting for the right moment to bloom again. But somehow, they ended up looking a bit like veins on a heart. And honestly, I kind of like that, so I decided to keep it that way. What do you think? Is it more like tree branches or veins on a heart? For the next step, I'm using a 3.2mm 2-flute bit designed for wood. First, the collet goes into the nut. This small but crucial piece grips the bit tightly. Next, I mount the whole assembly onto the spindle. Finally, I slide the bit into place and tighten the nut just enough so it holds the bit securely. With everything locked in, the tool is stable and ready to make precise cuts, just as we need for the next step. Each side of this piece gets carved in 2 stages. First up, the rough cut. That's where we carve out a rough shape of the model and remove most of the extra material, leaving just a thin layer behind. That way, when we move to the final carving, which uses a finer, more delicate bit, there's less stress on the tool, and a much cleaner finish. Chip by chip, layer by layer, slowly bringing the design to life. Little did I know, this was the calm before my first big mistake. Now, I'm speeding up the footage a bit here, because the rough cut actually took about 16 minutes. Watching it in fast forward, I can clearly see the tiniest shift of the wood on the work table. Something I completely missed at the time. But looking back, that tiny shift was the start of a problem I wasn't ready for. As I was drilling the holes for the pins, the wood decided to take a little walk on the spoil board. Sure, I could have just walked over to the CNC's computer and paused the job. Instead, as you can see, I jumped in and grabbed it with my hand to keep it from popping off completely. Which, yes, did save the piece, and also secured my spot in the highlight reel of a masterclass in bad decisions. Now that we've made it through the rough cut, it's time for the final pass on this side of the heart. I'm using a tapered end mill with a tip diameter of 0.8mm. That's about 31 thousandths of an inch for this step. What I actually wanted was a ball nose tip, but as you can see here, what showed up instead is flat. And since it doesn't have any twins in my tool set, I'll need to take extra care with this one. So steady hands, slow breath, coffee later. I love turning ideas into little projects like this. It's always exciting to see them come to life. And along the way, reading a comment or getting a message from one of you, it's like someone handed me a fresh burst of energy. That's why your support means the world to me. It's the reason this project is even here for you to watch. So if you're enjoying this journey, hit that like button, leave a comment, and let's keep building together. Most of the time on a project like this, it's spent on 3D modeling and all the prep work. The carving itself, that usually only takes a few hours, but the 3D modeling, especially for someone like me still getting the hang of it, can take several days to get right. And even after the CNC does its thing, you still need to do a bit of hand finishing because, well, when the tool leaves its mark, and it's up to you to smooth it out. And as I was reaching this point, checking the wood and getting ready to flip it over and carve the other side, I suddenly noticed my next mistake. Somehow, mysteriously, I'd made the pinholes too small. They just wouldn't fit. I thought, okay, no problem. I'll just widen them. Except now they were too big, and the pins were wobbling. All right, fine. I started fresh, but then I accidentally put the camera in the path of the CNC, which made things a bit tricky. In the end, I finally managed to get the holes just right. And when I say got the holes just right, I mean a snug fit. The kind of fitting you need after messing things up so many times. And it was satisfying. Even though I tested the wood fixation in the best way I could, I still used some super glue just to be sure nothing moves during the process. You know, just for peace of mind. And honestly, this is the moment I always look forward to. All the preparation, all the setup, it finally comes together right here. And now it's time to start the final stage of carving. With a quick note that the machine I'm using is a 3-axis desktop CNC. It can carve pieces up to 40 by 60 centimeters. Sometimes it gives me trouble, especially in the winter when one of the axes refuses to wake up easily. Of course, there are much newer and more advanced machines out there that can do an even better job. But this one still gives me enough precision to carve both sides of a piece accurately. And maybe now it's better if I just stay quiet and let you enjoy watching the machine do its job. And there it is, fresh out of the CNC, still holding on tight like it doesn't want to leave. A little patience, a little careful prying, and it finally gives up. Honestly, this part always feels like convincing a stubborn friend to leave the party. It takes a while, but eventually they do. And here's the result. The piece finally free and ready to shine. But it's not the final form yet. It still needs some cleanup to bring out the details. There's just a thin layer of wood left. So thin that light can actually pass through it. And yes, the pins are back. Turns out they're not just for holding things down the first time, but also the second time, when you need that perfect grip for the final polishing. First things first, I grab a file and start scraping around the branches. Every stroke takes away tool marks and tiny burrs left from carving. I'm keeping this side a little raw on purpose. Not polished, not perfect. Because to me, those scars mean it's been through struggles. And it has stories worth telling. Next comes the tricky part, cutting it free from the block. And for that, yeah, I'm using a hacksaw blade. Not fancy, but hey, it works. Once the heart is free, I peel away the last thin wooden layer. That layer is so fragile it almost crumbles by touch. Finally, I clean up the remains of those bridges I cut with the saw, and then do one last round of filing and sanding to make both sides even and remove every trace of the tool marks. And you know what? Until this moment, I honestly didn't know if both sides of the heart would match perfectly. But now I can sight, they align beautifully. It feels precise, balanced, and complete. Exactly the way I hoped it would. This heart carries two faces, one calm and simple, the other tangled and raw like roots reaching out. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit that like if you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for all the support so far. Means the world to me. And with that, I'm calling it finished.